So I'll ask you, do you think it's right for kids to not have food to eat at home before they go to class in order to make sure that a billionaire that doesn't even know how many more millions of dollars they're going to get could just get a few million more?
I want to make sure that as the Secretary of the Department of Education, that the President's plan to make school choice available to every student in our country is what we follow.
And the President's plan specifically takes money away from those kids, specifically takes food away from those families, specifically takes money and sends it to big contractors, big companies, and sends millions of dollars to billionaires like you who don't even know how many extra millions of dollars they're going to get.
Why are you shuttering a department that's supposed to lift up those children?
Because those programs don't have to flow through the Department of Education, and they
can flow through the state. I was a state legislator. That's called shift and shaft. I've spoken with the governor of Pennsylvania. They can't pick up the tab anymore for education of our students. Not to mention, it would be inequitable by state, by state, by state. Why are you in this job at all? If you don't have a dedication to the future of our children, why are you in this job?
I, too, am a mother and a grandmother, and I want the best for my family going forward.
Vouchers.
For my grandchildren, for my great-grandchildren, and I hope to leave a legacy that we have established best practices for education that all the states can use. That would be a great legacy to be able to leave, to be able to show states these are some of the things that they can do. I think states have to look at their budgets.
Madam Secretary, the legacy you will be leaving is that I shut down the Department of Education. How we educate our children determines not just their future, but our own. But I think it's a sad legacy you will leave. I yield back.
Do you know the number of people that you've had to reinstate of those fired?
It's about 74.
About 74. So how did that happen? Because, I've been an employer for 37 years. The dumbest thing I could possibly do is fire someone just to rehire them, right? Because you've given them no job security. It's like beyond stupid, right? Not saying that because you didn't do it. Clearly, it sounds like this is from Elon Musk. But how did that happen, that people got fired and no one thought of you might need them in your department?
Some of that did happen when I returned.
Okay.
Now, I was in the private sector. I have done restructuring in firms, and it's painful to do that.
Yeah. But fire people to rehire them?
Well, here's the thing.
Like, usually that's not a strategy.
When you are restructuring in a company, you hope that you're just cutting fat. Sometimes you cut a little in the muscle, and you realize it as you continue with your programs, and you can bring people back to do that.
Yeah.
So
Or
that's
you
what
can
we
plan
did.
ahead and not fire people to rehire them, right? That would be another strategy that I think is more often used. Would you agree?
Well, I'm saying that I have been on both sides of that coin, and I found them both to be effective.
Okay, interesting. We have a different perspective on that, but maybe the world of all-star wrestling is different than my world of business to business. You talked about, and I agree with you, about contracts enriching private contractors at public expense. Does Elon Musk have any contracts with the Department of Education?
First of all, I just need
It's a simple question,
well,
please.
This
is my time. I have 38 seconds, please,
Well,
Madam
I don't know
Secretary.
if he does or not.
You don't know if Elon Musk has any contracts in your department, and you've met with him multiple times?
Elon Musk doesn't have contracts in my department.
So Department of Education, there are no contracts with any Elon Musk company. That's what I'm asking.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right. You want to check a blue card real quick, or are you pretty sure of that?
I said not to my knowledge.
Okay.
If I find out differently, I'll be happy to get back to you.
All right. And just in the last few seconds I have, just real quick on private schools getting public dollars, just so you know, something like 3/4 of the students that wind up going into those schools already attend those schools, and they're getting tax money. So if we get rid of the Department of Education, should we put the private voucher program under Ways and Means, because it's really more of a tax benefit than an education benefit?
Well, I'm happy to get back to you on that as to how we restructure the Department of Education going forward and how those programs are handled.
Great. Appreciate it. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
You're welcome.
Again, considering the environment in which this president continues to foster about who's important and who's not. Yes or no?
Congresswoman, there are laws on the books in Title VI that totally.
Laws don't mean anything to this administration. I'm asking you do you realize that to send authority back to the states, to eliminate your oversight, to eliminate your accountability, to eliminate your determination as to resources going to schools that are teaching public schools that are teaching underserved communities. And this will result in the very reason that we had to get the involvement of the federal government in this issue. And that's a yes or a no. Either you believe
It isn't a yes or no, but I will not respond to any question based on the theory that this administration doesn't care anything about the law and operates outside it. So
This
that is a
administration
mischaracterization, and I will
I
respond.
reclaim my time for 5 seconds, because you can say anything you want. Your rhetoric means nothing to me. What means something to me is the actions of this administration, from the President of the United States conducting himself in a corrupt manner to his family, enriching him and himself corruptly, to determine that this administration can tell you what's right, what's wrong, what's lawful, what's not, that it can arrest judges, it can arrest lawyers, it can use its power to bully people. And I'm telling you, the Department of Education is one of the most important departments in this country. And you should feel shameful to be engaged with an administration that doesn't give a
Just like pretty much everybody else in the Trump administration, Linda McMahon was handed a position she's completely unqualified for, solely because she's one of Donald Trump's biggest donors. And also because Trump loves wrestling and, she just fits the central casting.
Congress appropriates the money that is going through Title I to IDEA programs.
What's that stand for?
You know what? I'm not sure I can tell you exactly what it stands for, except that it's the programs for disabled and needs.
Individuals with Disabilities Act, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm guessing. I don't know. I don't know all my acronyms. I've been here for 30 years.
This is my 5th day on the job, and I'm really trying to learn them very quickly.
I think it was a letter or a report that I heard this morning. I wish I could remember the source, but that there is a school system that's going to start making sure that first graders or even pre-Ks have A1 teaching, every year starting, that far down in the grades. And that's a wonderful thing. Kids are sponges. They just absorb everything. And so it wasn't all that long ago that we're going to have internet in our schools. Woo! Now, okay, let's see A1 and how can that be helpful? How can it be helpful in one-on-one instruction? How can it be helpful in absorbing, more information for those fast learners? It can be more one-on-one directed. And those are the kinds of things and innovations that I want to see continue to develop.
I've talked about here on Rebel HQ multiple times just how much Linda McMahon actually gave to Trump's 2024 campaign. It's $20 million. And she's just there to dismantle the Department of Education, just like the Trump administration is dismantling the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which has returned billions of dollars to defrauded customers of financial institutions and banks, going after the Environmental Protection Agency, which ironically or unironically was founded by Richard Nixon, or started by the Nixon administration, the Republican Party. The same Republicans who founded it are now destroying it and taking it down, going after the Veterans Affairs, going after Meals on Wheels, going after Medicaid and Medicare. But none of this is new. They're just trying to rush in everything as fast as possible because it's not looking good for them in the 2026 midterms and the 2028 presidential election. Now, unfortunately, the Democratic establishment might just be like, we're going to win off default. And they may, but that's not good enough going forward into the future, which is why I always talk about how important it is for us to run for office or to push those who we know may do a good job in our communities to do the same. Because right now, the only thing the Trump administration is doing is selling us out, pardons, all these ridiculous pardons being held out left and right. And Linda McMahon is just an extension of that. Elon Musk is gone, but if it wasn't for him, Trump wouldn't even be president this go round. $300 million donated. Linda McMahon, $20 million. That's a far shot from 300, but still it's an open auction. And this is the most corrupt administration in American history.